You're listening to PetLifeRadio.com.
Hello and welcome to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. Thank you for joining us today. We're your hosts. My name is Marcy Davis, and my co-host is my trusty service dog, Whistle. And Whistle and I are thrilled to be with you today to talk about our favorite topic, working dogs and working animals. And today we're going to visit with private investigator Karen Tarquin. And Karen is the most recognized missing dog expert in North America. And she uses her remarkable tracking dog team to help pet owners locate and recover their missing pets. And she's been featured on all kinds of television shows and newscasts across the country. And she even appears as a subject matter expert on the Animal Planet's website, as well as the dog whisperer Caesar's Way. So come right back after these quick messages from our sponsors as we welcome Karen to the show.
We'll be right back, right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Buster, you're telling me my dog food products can't go on your shelves?
That's right. Didn't pass one of my Petco certified nutrition checklists. Sorry, Wayne.
Who made these checklists?
Geniuses. Very smart guys.
Well, it's good enough for most grocery stores.
Do you see cheese puffs on my shelves? Mayonnaise? Soda pop?
No.
That's because I ain't running no grocery store, Wayne. Your pets will get better nutrition, I guarantee it. Petco, with healthy pets go.
Enter the code WORK10, W-O-R-K, the number 10, and get 10% off any order. No minimum at Petco.com.
There's a movement afoot, ShoeBuy.com. Join the millions of people who shop ShoeBuy.com's over 400 brands and 500,000 products. Order now and get free shipping and free return shipping. ShoeBuy.com, the world's greatest shoe store.
Walk your dog in style and comfort. Enter the code WORKING, W-O-R-K-I-N-G, at checkout and get a 10% discount plus free shipping at ShoeBuy.com.
How would you like your business to reach out and invite in our audience? We have a brand new trademark concept called InfoSeeds. InfoSeeds are short 20-second seeds of information about your place of business, practice, or service. Is the best, most cost-effective way to invite us in. We only have a limited number of slots left. For more information, visit the website
PetLifeRadio.com.
Click on sponsorship information. There you can listen to a sample of InfoSeed. Remember, only a limited number of opportunities are available.
This year, Americans are expected to spend a jaw-dropping $36 billion on their pets. From lighted leashes to high-end spa products, the discriminating pet owner can find just about anything to pamper his or her pet. Hi, this is Michelle Fern. Join me every week for Best Bets for Pets, where we'll talk about the latest pet products and talk to the companies that make them. Best Bets for Pets, every week, only on PetLifeRadio.com.
Let's talk pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. Today we're going to visit with America's Missing Pet private investigator, Karen Tarquin. Hello, Karen, and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Hi, how are you?
I'm good, and we're so excited for you to be with us today. This is a little bit different for us. We usually have people on the show that have their working dogs with them, and that's their primary focus, but we're so thrilled because you have two things. You have working dogs, and then you also work to locate missing pets. So we can't wait to hear all about that and how you earned the title of America's Missing Pet PI. Tell us, Karen, how did you earn that title?
Well, I don't know how I earned the title. I mean, typically these kind of things come through the media. They come up with these little slogans and things like that. And I think the first time it was used was a few years ago back on CNN. and we were doing a high-profile case in New York. So it's just one of those little monikers that, gets attached to you, and I'm kind of okay with it.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Well, tell us about your job and about your working dogs that are a part of your team.
You bet. Well, basically, back in 2004, and I'll just give you a little background, 2004, one of my own dog went missing. His name is Jack. And I was brought into the level of grief and panic and, honestly, terror that I'd never experienced. And this was my dog went missing. So it was a life-changing experience. And I did find Jack after 4.5 months, not thanks to any great investigative skills, more of an act of God. But we did get Jack back. And after that, I really began to think about if I had went through this experience and it was so devastating to me that it must be the same for other people. It was a big risk. There's really not, it's still not a very big field. There's very few people that do it professionally. Back then, there was really nobody. I already was in search and rescue for missing people and had learned those techniques, and I was a PI, but, human type things, much more, certainly not as exciting. But at any rate, I started researching, studying, and then I committed. And back in 2005, I found Cade, who is he's my leading partner. I mean, I'm usually the pack leader, but sometimes he takes control. But I got Cade back then, and I began training him utilizing the skills that I'd learned in search and rescue for missing people. From there, it just blossomed, and I went into it full time. It was a big risk. I tend to, we always try to use dogs from rescues or shelters. My own, you get your own personal beliefs in here. And certainly, at least for me in my world, there's so many dogs in the world that, it's hard for me to justify, bringing in more dogs. We always, I would say, all the dogs on the team right now are all from shelters or rescues, except for Cade, and somebody was giving him away out of the back of a truck at Walmart.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, so we always use rescue dogs, and obviously we look for dogs with a certain aptitude. They have to want to play the game, and our game is hide and seek. And those dogs that there's things that the dog we look for in the dog when we're doing interviews, and certainly we get a lot of requests. Dogs all over the country in shelters. Will this dog work? Will this dog work? But it's been a really, I jokingly say to people, I was 47 before I learned what I wanted to be when I grew up, and it was a life-changing experience. It was the best experience, and it's been really rewarding. And certainly, didn't really realize we would get the kind of accolades that we have, which has been great, really, really great. But I run on the dumb end of the leash. It's really the dogs on the other end that guide us, and certainly I do other ways of recovery. The dogs are our cold case experts. But anyway,
well, when you started, Karen, how did you get your first case? How did you? Because I know you said you decided to devote yourself to this, but how did you advertise? Was it a friend? How did you get your first case?
When you first start off in any field, and certainly in this field where there's so much, not only at stake, these are people's family members. The people that contact us, their pets are members of their family. And so there's a lot at stake. So certainly, like anything, you're very hesitant. And those first cases were certainly free. We went out and we, did our best and worked really hard. I want to say the very first case, gosh, I haven't even given this any thought. The very first case was somebody local that lived in a town nearby. And we went out, and at that time it was just me and Cade. And later we added other dogs to the team, and very quickly, quite honestly. And we went out, and it was a beagle, and who are frequent flyers in our work. And it was a beagle. And then from then on, word of mouth a little bit. Certainly once you start our groundbreaker, meaning where we kind of were thrown into the, I don't want to say the limelight, but kind of thrown into what people knew about us was when we worked the Vivi case, the Westminster show dog that went missing in New York. And that was, years ago. But that kind of, put our credibility and put us in the national spotlight.
And so you said that you use the search and rescue methods for training your dogs that work with you on the team. But when you go out on a case, how do you decide which dog or dogs of your team that you're going to work to help you find that missing animal?
And I'm going to clarify something for you just so we have an understanding. When I first started, I utilized the techniques that I learned in search and rescue. As time went on, this is my 7th year of doing this work, things evolved, and although we still use techniques that are similar in practice to what law enforcement and search and rescue uses, I have to, things have evolved to the point where we do use a lot of techniques now that probably would look more like what hunting dogs do. We've really had to do an evolution of our techniques. So, but to answer your question, a lot of it depends on what is the case profile, what's happening, how long has the pet been missing, as to which dog we use. All of the dogs have different skill sets, and one of the things that I've learned in working with these dogs over the years is to allow each dog to kind of evolve into what his system, what are his skills, and what's he going to be really good at. And rather than say, you are going to be an air scent dog and you are going to be, and these are search and rescue terms, we don't usually, but just gives people a way to identify, but you're going to be a footstep tracker. We really allow the dogs to evolve. So that said, all of them have different skill sets. Cade's probably best skill is that from a very long distance away and over a great period of time, Cade can detect scent with or without a trail. So, for instance, we're leaving for Colorado tomorrow morning. We'll be going to work a case of a dog lost up in the mountains in Divide, Colorado at the 9,000 elevation level, and she is lost up there with porcupine quills in her face. And she's what we call a STARS dog. And so we will use Cade just to start the case. We'll scan him from the point last seen, which is approximately 3 miles into the mountains. We'll scan him at that point, and we'll ask him to tell us where is the most recent scent, not just where is the dog's trail, because she's been traversing this area for the past 2 weeks. What's the most recent? Get us there. Not so different than what a coonhound, because Cade is part coonhound, what a coonhound would do if a hunter asked them, find me a raccoon. What Cade does is we give him the scent for the specific dog in a bag, and we ask him, find this dog. And then he'll scan the area very quickly. He does a circle, and he'll basically come back and tell me, let's go this way. Or if he doesn't detect the scent in a fairly large area, I mean, he's pretty good. We've tested him pretty regularly at a quarter mile. He'll come and he'll tell me, I don't have this scent. This scent's not here. So that's his skill. And the way we use that is we've got a dog like Bella this is her 16th day missing. He's going to be able to get us there quicker than what we call a tracker. Brody's a tracker. Brody is a German wire-haired pointer, and he will follow the specific scent of a dog, but he's going to have to be pretty close to the actual trail that the dog walked. So if we bring Brody out, and his ability to detect scent over a period of time is not he doesn't have that hound in him. So he's not going to be able to go aged-wise. The trail's not going to be able to be as old. So tomorrow when we start, we will be using Cade. Once Cade gets us into an area, you just get a feel. I mean, it's an intuitive feel from working with each dog over a period of time. I'll then bring Brody in, and in this case tomorrow, we're going to have to be hiking in and hiking out to switch dogs. So it's going to be a grueling case.
Yeah.
But,
well, I see why you really need a team, though, because you really do need lots of different skills with your working dogs to really support you and to support the specifics in every case that you work.
Right.
That's so cool.
And you also never want the dogs to get tired.
Yeah.
You never want them to get bored. So we quit. We never get a dog tired. We quit before the dog starts showing signs of fatigue, so that every time it gets out of the truck, regardless the weather, regardless the altitude, regardless where we're at, the dog is excited to work.
Yeah.
Because we travel all over the country.
How many dogs are you going to take with you to Colorado for this case?
Tomorrow we're going to be taking 5. And, we always have everybody that lives in our house, because I do rescue, everybody gets a chance to play hide and seek, to do the work. So we will be taking 3 veteran dogs with us, Twist, Brody, and Cade. And then we have a little dachshund who is really just, he came out of a puppy mill. He just decided he could do this work. And we'll bring him in, and he'll just we use him to confirm turns. So, and he's little. So is Twist. We're not a breed specific as far as what we use. We use dogs that have an aptitude and love the game. Twist is an 18-pound Jack Russell terrorist. So, and
that's wonderful. That's great. Yeah, I love that. I love that diversity. That's so great that you really could use all these different types of dogs. How do you transport your team of dogs when you travel to Colorado? How will you get them there?
We've used a variety of different vehicles over the years. Today, we've come down to a place where we're using basically just a van. They all have their own separate crate. They do travel in crates. We'll stop every 2 or 3 hours. Everybody gets out, which, adds to travel time extensively. But that's how we do. We drive. We don't fly because there's too many dogs, and we won't put the dogs in the hold. When we did used to fly, I could only fly with one dog, and that takes a special dog. There's a lot going on in a plane, and a dog that like Cade, who's very, very good at what he does, he would not like the interior cabin of a plane. It would be, but anyway, we need a team.
Yeah, I was wondering about that if you flew them, because I know for Whistle, my service dog, he can fly in the cabin and he's trained to do that. So it works beautifully. But I wondered about your dogs with their skills and their jobs, how you actually travel. So that's great that you can drive. So that makes it much better for you and for them, definitely.
Yeah, pretty much have to drive. I mean, we'll be traveling with 5 dogs tomorrow, but in reality, Paco goes everywhere we go. He's our little general. He's our token lost dog, our 5-pound Chihuahua. So we travel with 6 dogs. Paco goes everywhere.
Well, that sounds awesome. Well, we are going to take a quick break and hear some important messages from our sponsors, and we're going to come back and continue visiting with Karen. We have a lot more we want to talk about, and we want to ask some really important questions, and hopefully Karen will share some tips with us that if one of our dogs goes missing, what we should do. So come right back after these quick messages.
We'll be right back, right after these messages. Stay tuned.
Love your pets but wish their medications were a lot less expensive? They are at 1-800-PET-MEDS. You'll not only save on flea and heartworm medications, but on prescriptions for arthritis, incontinence, thyroid, and more. And you get fast service, free shipping, and a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Plus, our licensed pharmacists ensure accuracy, monitor drug interaction, and more. See why over 5 million people have trusted their pet's health to 1-800-PET-MEDS, America's largest pet pharmacy. Call now or order online.
Go to petmeds.com/work, WORK, to get 10% off any order and free shipping on orders of $39 or more at petmeds.com.
I play tennis because I love to. But inside, I want to win. Take away the court, the net. I might not be a player, but I'll always be a competitor. Lady Foot Locker understands that.
Lady Foot Locker, the first to carry Adidas off-court shoes and the gear that goes with them.
If you play your best, there's no regret.
Lady Foot Locker, one place, every woman.
Go to ladyfootlocker.com and enter the code AFWRK1LF to get 10% off any order of $50 or more. Or enter the code AFWRK2LF to get 15% off any order of $75 or more at ladyfootlocker.com.
Celebrate your special occasion and give her this classic semi-eternity band created with 1-carat brilliant diamonds, channel set in 14-carat white gold. Exclusively yours from ice.com. Free shipping over $150, free returns, and 30-day money-back guarantee.
Go to ice.com and use promo code ACTFP and get 20% off your purchase. Or use promo code ADTFP and get 20% off at Diamond.com, Ice.com, or Diamond.com. Get 20% off from Pet Life Radio.
Hi everybody, I'm Megan Blake here with my sidekick, Super Smiley, the giant mutt and spokes dog for throwaways. You're listening to Pet Life Radio, and I'd like to tell you about our brand new show, A Super Smiley Adventure. Our show explores adventures with animals. They can be traveling, out in the world trips, or inner journeys where our animals lead us to inspiration and self-discovery, or just plain fun adventures. Join us here on Pet Life Radio on A Super Smiley Adventure. Good boy.
Let's talk pets.
Let's talk pets
On Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back to Working Like Dogs on Pet Life Radio. And we're visiting today with Karen Tarquin, America's Missing Pet Private Investigator. And Karen, I wanted to ask you, if someone's animal goes missing, what should they do? What are some tips that you could share with us that could really help them to be able to recover their missing animal?
Some of that is going to be species specific, if it's a missing cat or if it's a missing dog. But just speaking in general, I can tell you that the first thing that most people should do is, first off, is not to panic. As soon as you start to panic, it's very hard to kind of focus. I encourage people, take 3 deep breaths, and let's go back to, where was the pet last seen? What do we think has happened? Not a tangent. What do we think has happened? And then follow those steps in order. When it's ascertained that a pet is missing, and we're going to talk about, let's use a dog, for example. When it's ascertained the dog is not on the property, the dog is definitely missing, maybe it went missing from a vet or something. What I generally encourage people to do is start to go out quickly, depending on how long the pet has been missing, but you want to start developing witnesses. Has anybody seen anything? If they go out and after the first hour or two, they haven't been able to find the pet, I usually recommend people go back quickly, get some flyers. We also, many times at the very beginning, we call it the first 48, we will have somebody do a pet Amber Alert, which is a phone broadcast service that goes into the nearby homes and says, Fluffy's missing, this is what he looks like, and if you have any information, please contact the owner. So that's one of the techniques that we use when a pet first goes missing. But basically, it's that you want to get as many people. This is a volume game. When a pet is missing, 90% of the time it's going to be recovered through other people's eyes and ears. Something somebody heard, something somebody saw. So it is about getting as many people to know that the pet is missing as possible. We use signage. Most of our cases are actually worked here out of my office, doing aerial diagnostics and canine profiling, and using community awareness. So just, if I could offer something to anybody whose pet goes missing, is to remember this phrase. It's a volume game. The more people that know your pet is missing, the likelihood of the recovery and the quicker the recovery.
Yeah, well, those are all important tips. And I know earlier this year, I let Whistle, he likes to go out in the backyard for a few minutes, a couple of times a day that he has his free time. And I had let him out in the evening, and a storm was actually coming, and we had some work done in our backyard, and our gate was not closed completely. And I understand what you mean about the panic, because I realized that Whistle had gotten out, and I looked at that gate and it was wide open and he was nowhere to be found. And we live outside of a city, and so it's pretty rural out here. And I mean, I was panic stricken, and with this storm coming, I was so worried about where he was, and with him being a working dog, it was sheer panic. And fortunately, it had a happy ending. I got out in my neighborhood and started calling him, and luckily he heard me and came to me. But those first few minutes and hours are just so critical to really get out there and to find your animals and to know where they are, and things can happen so quickly. So that's really good information. And I didn't know that you could do Amber Alert. Do all communities have that?
Oh, no. I mean, they can be done in any community. But the service that we use is called Pet Amber Alert. They're actually out of New York, but they cover all of the United States. So, yeah, it's a company out of New York we use, and we can get an Amber Alert out usually within an hour. We do what's called center search. Yeah, it's a great service, and we partner with them. Because if a pet goes missing right away, we call it the first 48, you can do 300 neighbors real quickly, and to let them know real fast. And it'll go to their voicemail or right to their residence. It doesn't do cell phones. It does residents. They also have a fax service where they go to shelters, and it's a great service. And certainly when a pet first goes missing and it's wandering around and people go, oh, that's that dog that I just saw down on the corner. Yeah. So, and you brought up a good point. So I want to share with your listeners a little bit about prevention. You said you realized that Whistle went missing and you saw that gate open. You probably will never forget the picture of that gate in your brain.
I certainly will not. And let me tell you, that gate now has locks on it because I don't ever want that to happen again. And I put it spring loaded now, and I put locks on it because Whistle likes to run. He's a runner.
Right. Yeah. And some of that is genetic. Certain breeds are that way. But you said something that everybody should hear, which is you went into your neighborhood and you began calling him. So typically, obedience-trained therapy dogs have a really good conditioned come alert. We call it a conditioned response, but most of us would say it's a come response. Come, or a command. Everybody should do a conditioned response for their pet, dog or cat, to get them to come. Now, that doesn't mean obedience. That means something that the animal will come to, making whatever that is. I mean, some people it's a squeaky toy. Some people it's the rattle of a dog food. We have the dinner time song here. Very simple. We go, when I feed the dogs, we sing the dinner time song, which is simply dinner time, dinner time, dinner time. Why do we do that? Because the dogs know. Actually, as I did that, everybody's heads up. They're all here in my family room with me. The reason we do that is it's a conditioned response that is associated with food. Yeah. And we use all food-motivated dogs. So food is a big thing in this house. Well, it will be for many, many dogs.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because that's the other thing I did is I ran out the door. I grabbed his bag of his favorite treats. And I took those with me just in case, and I would shake them because that's when because Whistle loves to stay out in the backyard. So sometimes I had to learn that for his recall was to give him a treat when he comes in. So I definitely took those with me, and I was so glad because I was worried that, I had something that I could try to get him to come to me. But I was screaming and the wind was blowing, so it was really difficult for my voice to carry. But fortunately, he did hear me and came running, and he just thought it was all way big fun, that he was getting to run around the neighborhood. But I tell you what, it took 10 years off of my life.
It's a catastrophic situation. I still remember it. I have a little 5-pound Chihuahua, Paco. That's my best buddy. And I pretty much know where he is at any minute of the day. Not 5 minutes goes by that I don't know where Paco is. Well, there are times that he'll get locked in a room, or I think I've locked him outside. In that well of panic that comes up into my chest because he's only 5 pounds. And nobody means for their dog to go missing. Matter of fact, most of my clients would tell you that it would never have happened to them. But circumstances happen that are outside of our control. So I will share, people, if you will train your dog to a conditioned response to come, now that can be, calling the dog's name, and every time he comes to you for, 2 or 3 weeks, you give him a little tidbit, whatever that is. Now, it's different depending on the profile of the dog. Dogs that are STARS dogs, shy, timid, aloof, reserved, or skittish, those dogs are not typically trusting of people. So when they get out, you don't want to do loud calling. You still want a conditioned response, but everything needs to be quiet because those dogs that have those genetic tendencies, they're predisposed to sensitivity. Those dogs are going to be much more highly sensitive when they get out, especially if they're in bolting behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell me, Karen, if our listeners wanted to use your services, how can they contact you and what kind of services do you offer?
The easiest way to reach us is at our website, which is www.k9pi.com, like K9 Private Investigator. We have several websites, howtofindalostdog.com. These are ways to reach us. Howtofindalostdog.com is actually for pet owners with missing dogs, and it's scenario-based. You go in and you know, my dog is shy, my dog is friendly, and you just click on those, and it'll tell you the most likely scenarios that's going on with your dogs. The services that we offer is we start all cases with a review. I have to go over the case so that I understand what's going on. 99% of the time, I'm going to be able to, in 5-10 minutes, know what's happened to this particular dog. And that's because, just like in NCIS, where you profile people, when you profile dogs, their scenarios are going to be very similar. But so we do canine profiling and aerial diagnostics probably for 80% of our cases, which means we'll solve them right here from our office by being able to tell somebody based on the personality, the terrain where the dog is missing, and the missing event. What happened? How did the dog go missing? What we're going to need to do to recover the dog. Now, we don't always recover the pet, obviously, but if it's feasible at all, we'll work it from here. In a case like Bella, who we're going to Colorado tomorrow, you know, she is lost up in the wilderness. There's nobody to help us. The pet owner has no way to follow her. On top of that, with porcupine quills in her snout, we're not sure what the effects of that would be. So there's really no help up there. So we pretty much have to go in with tracking dogs. We were contacted this morning about going to Joplin because there was a dog that was picked up by the tornadoes. And there's a nationwide, not a search, but it's got a lot of publicity. And they contacted us this morning and said, could we come and at least try to tell them what's happened to this dog?
So you're going to be doing that.
We may go from Colorado. We may travel all the way down to Joplin, Missouri, which is 13 hours from the location in Colorado will be. There's a lot of travel involved. But the dog's case, it's a cold case. I mean, she's been missing since the tornado. She was picked up by the tornado. Let's see, she was seen, I believe, just shortly after the tornado. So she survived the tornado, but she hasn't been seen since.
Wow. It would be remarkable if you could find that dog, and what that would mean to that family, I can only imagine, especially after the trauma of the tornado. That would be awesome, which it sounds like all of your work is really amazing, and you've just helped so many people.
I'm very fortunate. It's great work.
Yeah. Well, tell us, what's your most memorable find that you've had so far?
You know, the things that are most memorable for us being, you know, as you know, working with dogs are usually those cases that were just so unique based on what it was that our tracking dogs were able to do. Some of the things, you know, some of the more joyous things are, you know, a dog missing. Well, we had a dog named Lacey. She was missing 10 days. And we found her in 2 hours, and she was 3 miles away, and that was all through tracking. Those are memorable cases for the pet owner because, I mean, those are, you know, unique. Some French bulldogs that were missing for 9 weeks, and by the end of the first day we were there, we had the dogs back in the people's arms, and they'd been found stray. They'd been sold to a puppy mill. Cade found them. We got a lead. We went 25 miles away and started scanning Cade every quarter mile out in the country. And he picked up the scent of one of the dogs and ran to the puppy mill where they were being held.
That is so phenomenal. What an awesome working dog team you have.
Yeah. So those kind of, it really is. I mean, like I said, every time I start a dog, it passes through my brain, isn't this amazing? Thousands of times later, isn't this amazing that this dog wants to do this with me? And I'm saying, here's a scent. Tell me if this scent, out of all of the millions of molecules, can you follow this one? The way we train them is we lay trails over trails and then ask them and have them 5 weeks later go and work that trail. But they have to tell us where we took, you know, where did we turn? Which of the trails of the 3 that's laid here is the most recent? 5 weeks later.
That is so incredible.
Dogs are incredible.
I know what you mean, because every time Whistle still does. I've had an assistance dog for 20 years, but every time he does something for me, my heart is just so filled with awe and with gratitude to these animals for the work that they do. And like you said, that they want to do it and that they love it. It's just so incredible. So I am so sorry that we're out of time because we just have enjoyed talking with you so much, Karen. But I do want to just give those websites out one more time to our listeners of how they can contact you. And that was k9pi.com and howtofindalostdog.com. So that's how you can reach Karen. And Karen, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. And we certainly wish you all the best in Colorado and in Joplin, that hopefully you can find these lost dogs and bring some joy to these families.
Well, great. Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you, our listeners, for being with us. We love that you're joining us, and I love getting your emails. Whistle and I love to read them and get your questions and ideas for future shows. So please keep those coming, and you can email me at Marcie, MARCIE, at PetLifeRadio.com. You can also follow Working Like Dogs on Facebook and Twitter, and you can read our blog at workinglikedogs.com. So thanks so much, and we hope you'll come back real soon and join us again. Take good care.
Let's Talk Pets, every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.